there were questions I needed to ask myself, and I also felt dissatisfied with my content and
Okay.
my skill,
Okay. Yeah,
because I
yeah.
felt like I had talent, but I didn't have enough skill. So it was hard to communicate musically with my band to translate what was in my mind in musical terms,
Ah,
telling them
okay.
how I wanted them to play. So a lot of the time, the music was played on stage, and I'd be thinking, that's not how I want it to sound. But I just had to accept it because I didn't have the terminology to explain what I needed them to do.
Right, right.
So I realized I needed more education.
Mm.
So I went back to school.
How did your dad take that? Because now with the information that you had wanted to do music in school, and they're like, no, 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 there's no
Yes,
need. Now,
yeah.
all these years later, you're like,
So many years after working, and I somehow feel that my job hopping was one of the reasons I kept job hopping.
mm,
Was I was looking for something,
yes, you were
and it
looking for something.
probably was music.
The whole
The
time.
whole time I just need to stop and accept I need to do music. But at
Hmm.
this point, I think, I mean, parents want you to graduate and
Yeah.
have a paper saying you
And
have,
you had given
and
them
I had
that.
given them that.
Yeah.
So they didn't really fight me.
So
They
they were
said,
supportive.
yeah, they were supportive. They said, okay, why don't you just go and do it, and hopefully you will settle and
Hmm.
rest. After this, you'll have some peace. So
Okay.
yeah, they let me do it.
So
Yeah.
was it just music, or was it just like you felt like you had not yet found your
Right.
place in
Yeah,
terms of what you were doing?
I felt discontent in a way. I didn't feel satisfied with
Mm,
where I was
mm,
and what I was putting out. I felt like there was so much inside, but I didn't know how to bring it out.
okay.
So I thought going to school would help.
You also
Yeah.
mentioned earlier when we were chatting
Yes.
that also you felt a little uncomfortable with the attention that you were
Yes.
getting.
Yes.
I find that interesting because you find most people think, people do it for the attention and for the
Yeah.
fame
Yes.
and for that. And you were like, I just want to be in a corner somewhere.
I think some people flourish
Hmm.
when it comes to fame. They're
Yeah.
loving it, and then me, no, I shy away
Hmm.
from fame.
Okay.
I'm only just beginning to accept it, and it takes me. I think I am an introverted extrovert.
Okay.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
I don't really thrive, or it takes a lot for me to be in a crowd with a lot of people. I have to go back and sort of recharge, and I need to
Uh-huh.
be alone
Okay.
to
You,
get the energy to come back. Oops. Yeah.
okay.
Sorry. To
Okay.
get the energy to come back on stage. And yeah. So when I realized that it was a pattern,
Hmm.
and I felt kind of drained after each gig, I'd like, oh, now I have to find the energy to do the next one.
Wow.
Yeah.
So,
So
because you said you felt like emotionally you were
yes,
not ready
I
for
felt,
that.
yes, I didn't feel emotionally ready. I didn't feel like I knew what it was going to bring when I started. Because I thought it was going to be like any other job. Yeah,
Oh.
because I'd done other jobs. I thought this is going to be another job. I get on stage, sing, and get off, and that's it.
No.
But
Especially since you started promoting yourself as your own brand with your own
yes,
band, and then
yeah,
you have your music, you have to promote your music.
there was that too,
Uh-huh.
because apart from not knowing what kind of impact it would have on me emotionally, I would feel very drained after a concert.
Yeah.
I need to find a way to energize myself, and I felt like I didn't really know how.
Okay.
So I started to pull back and think a lot more. I'd got very inward, should I say? Yeah.
Okay.
Then I
Was your
think
brother managing you even
no,
then?
no, no. At
Okay.
that point, I didn't have a manager. I did get a manager later, David
Ha!
Ogutu. I don't know
Uh-huh.
if you.
Yes, yes.
So there was David Ogutu and Enoch Ichiriza who worked with me, and they really worked so well when it came to branding me, a part that I couldn't do myself.
Mm-hmm.
So I was on Facebook, I was on Twitter,
Yes.
and they were really doing a good job, but I felt I couldn't keep up
Oh.
with what I was seeing on social media and what I was putting out. And it was like, yeah, so now there's a gig, and I'm like, another gig. Can we just have one next month? Yeah. and I also felt that my sound was beginning to was not very dynamic. You know how you can listen to an artist and this song sounds like the other song, which sounds like the other. I didn't want to be one of those. I wanted my music to sound a certain way, and I knew I needed to go back to school. But I think during the time that I had just finished the recording, and it took so much, I realized that there's a whole other department, which is marketing.
Yes.
So I remember walking to radio stations. I said, I'm going to take 2 weeks, go to every radio station I know about in Kampala, and say, here's my music. I thought it would be that easy. And they'd say, oh, thank you. And then they'd go play it 5 minutes later. That's what I thought. No, that's not how it worked. But when I met David and Enoch, they were the usual suspects. That was their company, yes.
Yeah.
My music was playing, and I didn't have to be a part of that. But then I realized at that point, I need a team. I can't do this on my own. Yeah. But around that time is when I made the decision to go back to school. So, and just to put performance on hold.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and honestly, I didn't miss it during the time that I was in school. I didn't miss it.
you didn't miss it?
No,
Wow.
that was fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this was Kampala Music School, was it?
No, that was Africa Institute of Music.
African Institute.
Yes,
Okay.
at that time it was in Muyenga. They moved to Luboa.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
So how long?
That was 2013, graduated 2015.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So, then I was doing some research.
Yes.
You say that, and I saw you talking about the academy.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, is this the music academy? And it's
Yeah.
different.
Okay, so right after Africa Institute of Music, graduating, I started homeschooling, kind of.
Okay.
But one of the homeschool teachers or heads came to me and said, why don't you come and teach music? So I left homeschooling, started teaching.
I'm trying to understand how you
Yes.
started homeschooling.
Well, I guess after graduation, in my mind, I felt that music wouldn't be enough to sustain me. And I needed another job but I wanted a job that was not 8 to 9.
Okay.
I mean, going to take I needed a job that was, I think I like to impart.
Okay.
So I thought,
So with the homeschooling, you were part of a program?
Yes, I did.
And you'd
it
go
was the
to
Africa, Accelerated Education Enterprise. Yes. So
okay.
it's a curriculum that is Christian based, and I studied how to teach it. Yes, and then I started.
You became a
doing
teacher.
that. I became a teacher. But then I was approached by one of the board members, and she said, "Why don't you teach music
Okay.
to these kids who do conventions?" I think the Accelerated Education Enterprise has conventions.
Okay.
They have them in Kenya, South Africa, and the US.
Okay.
So they would go for competitions with different countries. All different countries doing that curriculum would go to those places and have competitions.
Yeah. But they train and they prepare.
Yes, they train from their countries, then they travel. Yeah, and pursue gold medals and stuff. So they do things like art and sports and music, all kinds of. It's a talent show, really.
Yeah.
So I was in charge of the music department, and I was teaching choir and duets and solos. But I think choir for me was my
Yay!
yes. What's the word? It just hit that spot. I was like, this. I love.
Isn't it
doing
interesting
this.
how you made the decision to go back to school to study
Yes.
music,
Yeah.
and then
and now I was
this
applying.
opens up,
Yes,
right?
This opened up. Yeah. So yeah, actually, the lady who trained me in the Accelerated Education Enterprise sat me down and said, "I don't think that you're supposed to be teaching academics." I wasn't failing at teaching it, but she said
she made it the nicest possible
yes,
way.
the nicest possible way. I think you would thrive teaching music,
Okay.
and she was right.
Okay.
Yes.
We need people like that.
I know.
We need people like that.
Honest truth. Yes.
But I can imagine. I
Yeah.
mean, you're talking about making these decisions
Yeah.
because you were trying to find yourself
Yes.
and what works for you. Like that.
I know.
People like that.
Honest truth. Yes.
But I can imagine. I
Yeah.
mean, you're talking about making these decisions
Yeah.
because you were trying to find yourself
Yes.
and what works for you. But it must have been scary, though. Did you have like support from your friends? I mean, you talk, at least from your family,
Yes,
you
I
did.
know, I know. Well, my family, I think it was kind of on and off because I think, I think a lot. And for me, life is, you only have one. So make all the mistakes
That you can.
as you're trying to find out the truth, of what your calling is. Because I think the general attitude here is you find a job, stick with it. Yeah. And of course, you can't blame anyone because people have responsibilities. Yeah, a lot of people get jobs and they have to pay fees for their siblings. They have to take care of their parents and things like that. But I remember sitting down and thinking, I don't have those responsibilities.
So, yeah.
Why don't I take advantage of this? So I actually even sat down with my dad and said, you can still help me. You don't really need me to make any contributions. Just allow me to continue with my education, which is more of experiencing life.
Well, I guess, you were lucky to have that.
Yes, I count that as a blessing.
But like all the people who'd worked with you, maybe through your music and everything, weren't they like, what's going on?
It's crazy.
Because, I mean, you are talented, without a doubt.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of people are like...
Of course, when I left my jobs, I looked crazy. When I went back to school, because I think I was at the peak. At that point, I was starting to come out.
Yes, you were picking up.
Yes, I was picking up, and it looked like a really bad time to stop. But when I sat down and thought about it, I said, I'm going to get to a point where I sound boring.
You could see it.
I could see it. I could visualize.
And you couldn't feel the growth and
I said,
the
I'm not going
direction.
to grow. I'm just going to look like that person and I'm going to find reasons to stay in the media and to stay interesting. But it won't be my talent putting me out there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I didn't want to have to look for a reason to be in people's faces. And, my reason wouldn't be music, I didn't want that to happen. So I said, you know what? I remember sitting down with artist Kasozi, Kaz Kasozi.
Kaz Kasozi,
yes. I went for a Baimba workshop. And he talked about this, Baimba used to have workshops where they would train musicians.
Yes.
I don't know if they don't. I don't think they still do it, but it was one of those places where that helped me make that decision. He said there's a lady who took up singing. I think she's from Angola.
Okay.
In her 50s. And he played some of her music. I don't think he remembers this conversation. He'll be very surprised when he hears this. Yeah. And he said she started singing in her 50s, and I listened to her music, and she was just fantastic.
Really?
Yes.
In her 50s? That's cool.
In her 50s. So I thought, why am I in a hurry to become something I'm not ready to become? Let me just take my time and perfect the art and put myself out there when I'm ready.
They say it's never too late.
It's never too
It's the
late.
fear that holds people back,
Yes.
but it's never too late.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But now, so you're still teaching. You are a teacher now.
Yes, I'm a
music
teacher.
teacher.
Yeah.
But, as I
Yeah.
said before, I've seen things.
Yes,
So you're getting back
yes.
into music now?
Yes,
Uh-huh.
I think I'm a lot more confident now.
Okay.
I think I've come to a point where I can now say I have both skill and talent.
Okay.
Whereas before it was talent.
And nothing
And
to
I-
prop it up.
Nothing to back it up, and I didn't think that I was that talented. Yeah.
Okay.
Sometimes we doubt
So you had
ourselves.
some insecurities
I had
as
some
well.
insecurities. I still have insecurities, but your insecurities change as you become more exposed to. You're like, oh, I have this insecurity. I didn't know that. Yeah.
I wish you're like all over that. something else comes up, you're like,
Yes,
now.
yeah, that you keep having stuff to deal with. So I think I made the decision to come back when I felt I could properly express myself. When I had more songs that I had written, or have people who have written for me and said, I think this
So
song
you
would
have
suit
been
you.
recording? You've been in...
I've not been recording, I've been writing.
You've been writing?
Yes,
Okay, so
yeah.
you're putting...
So next year I will be recording.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. So I made the decision to get back into performance because I felt like I was in a place, not just skill-wise, but also emotionally ready.
For the attention that comes
Yes,
with
yes,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
mentally ready.
okay,
Yeah.
so all through this, were you in a relationship? Were you like, no time for that?
I wouldn't say I didn't have time for that. I just wasn't. How do I put this? I think my desire is to really connect and to meet someone with whom I think I can share my vision and who shares the same values. And things were just not aligning in that
Okay.
direction.
Okay.
There's amazing people out there, but mine, it could have been a timing thing.
Okay.
Yes, so
All right.
no, I haven't been in a relationship.
Okay.
I was,
Of course, dating a bit,
yeah,
seeing
yeah,
someone
but
here.
nothing super serious.
Okay.
Yes, yeah.
And now?
I'm getting there.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm getting there.
Does that
Yeah.
mean you are in a relationship now?
You will know soon. You will know soon. Yes. Yeah.
Well, that's
I love
good.
keeping it big. Yeah.
Okay.
Until I know for sure. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you said you've been recording, and next year, I mean,
Oh, no, I haven't been
writing,
recording. Yes, yes.
collecting material, and then
Yes.
next year you will be recording.
Yes.
So where do you see Tamba, like in the next 5 years? Let me throw that question at you.
Next 5 years. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Sounds like an interview question.
No,
Yeah. Yeah.
one of those questions.
Love that. Yeah. I think I see. Well, let me first talk about what my music is about.
Yes.
My music is very contemplative.
Okay.
My music is very sit down and listen to the message. It's not really get up and dance and forget your troubles and just be happy and be merry. You can dance the music, but you always leave with, she was singing about this. Yeah. It's very community based, very much about the human condition. How we can make life better. So I see myself as an artist who represents a cause. Yeah. And I think as time goes by, it will begin to unveil,
Okay.
what she's singing about. She's singing about, I don't know if you heard one of my songs, Kampala, Photo Free.
Yes.
Yeah. I
One
like
day.
Yes. And sometimes it looks like it's happening, and then you see potholes everywhere.
Well,
So
the
you
rainy
think, come
season
on.
comes, and you're like, but this road, just like 2 months
How can
ago.
water destroy something so strong? When they're thinking, just put some drainage. Come on, guys. It's no drainage. That's why the water has nowhere to go. Yeah. But I think my music is very, should I say, it's about social issues.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the Nyankore that I sing in is more to do with, hey, these are folk songs that my grandmother taught me, and I would like to pass that on. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have that many. But I think if I did and I was very good at the language, it would be something that I would pursue
Okay.
more. And so I will do some research. I'll say, let me go find more folk songs. So it takes me time before I write another song or perform another song. I have to ask questions. What does this mean? What's its history? So there's a lot of research.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then the rest is about hope, love, things like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
What I'm hearing is, I mean, the same way like you're a teacher and you've been a student for quite some time as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
that you also want your music to pretty much be on the same level as well. You're teaching and
yes.
sharing what you've learned.
Yeah. I guess my music is in a way reflecting my teacherness.
Did you ever think you'd be a teacher?
No.
Because I mean,
No.
your dad was.
Yeah, my dad's a teacher, but it just never occurred to me that I would be a teacher. It surprised me. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned like, you know, there was a point you were dissatisfied and you felt you just weren't happy.
Yeah.
And do you feel like now you've
Yeah.
latched on to